Have you ever wondered how deep you should plant your cacti and succulents? As it's the case for most topics regarding these amazing plants, there isn't really a one-size-fits-all solution. And it's all that variability that makes them even more interesting. So let's talk about the most popular genre and species and how they like to be planted. If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. I hope you like cacti. We make nothing but content related to cacti and succulents in both cultivation and habitat to try to highlight the importance of their conservation. Remember, take nothing but pictures from habitat. There are many aspects of cactus growth out in habitat that we simply can't mimic to perfection in cultivation. But planting depth is one of the aspects that we can and definitely should try to copy from Mother Nature, since these plants evolved to thrive in a very specific relationship to the ground around their roots. If you watched our previous episode about the home of Copiapoa cinerea back in Chile, you already know that that species, like most species in the genus Copiapoa, don't like to have their stems underground at all. They like to have only the root systems digging underneath the soil, with the entirety of their stems sitting above it. But of course, there are a few exceptions like Copiapoa humilis and Copiapoa hypogaya, which definitely like to be a little tucked in and live right on the soil level. Now, it's important to mention that all of this planting depth advice is considering that you're using mostly or all inorganic or mineral soil, because using too much organic content in your soil mix will retain moisture, and that could definitely be detrimental to your plants if it's sitting around their roots or around their stems for an extended period of time. A good rule of thumb or starting point that I always like to tell people about, and I often use myself, is that any cactus with a taproot will generally like to grow right at the soil level, with the entirety of the taproot underground and only the top part of the stem poking out above the surface. You see, the taproot is all made up of root tissue, which is more sensitive to changes in temperature, solar radiation, and wind, so it's happiest when it's shielded from the elements underneath the soil. Genera like Ariocarpus, Ariocarpus, and Lophophora are all great examples of this, since most species like to live completely level with the surface, with some exceptions of course. Lophophora frichii, for example, do seemingly like to hang out a little bit above the soil line, but their taproots definitely always remain underground. Most of the species in the genus Astrophytum live with the entirety of their stem living above the ground level. And although it's not uncommon to see Astrophytum asterias out in the field almost completely covered by soil, in cultivation these plants grow more of a spherical shape that pokes out a lot more above the surface. And all the other species in the genus definitely live with the entirety of their stem living above the ground. Columnar cacti like Eulignia, Trichocereus, and all others ending in cereus are unique in that their tall bodies are affected by the wind and gravity, which could lead to leverage that may cause them to topple over. So for that reason, especially when repotting a brand new Trichocereus or one of these beautiful columnar cacti, it's important to bury at least a couple of inches of their stem underneath the soil to provide a good anchor point for them to remain firm. Just like Copiapoa, Ferocactus and Echinocactus both follow the taproot rule. These plants only have fibrous roots that remain underground, while the entirety of the plant's volume of the stem remains living above the soil at all times. These plants really don't like to be buried underground at all. What's up, little guy? I hope this little guide helped clear up some of your doubts regarding planting depth and how to keep your plants happy and healthy. And definitely don't be afraid to experiment, as your cacti and succulents are extremely adaptable and resilient, and they can survive a wide range of conditions. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe so I can see you on the next one.